Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of CleoCast. My name is Matt.
And I'm RC.
Anyway, it's been a while since we've done this. How have you been?
I've been all right.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Literally, so they're building a bunch of new apartments right by the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I am excited for that to be done. And as a place where we don't have a lot of transit connections, also excited for it being one lane in a road that used to be 4 lanes.
Yeah.
That being over, because it was just atrocious today.
Yeah. It's they've now repaved the road like 4 times now because they're tearing it up again. And it's just like, guys, I feel like this would be a lot more efficient if we figured out what we needed to do under the pavement, did it all, and then repave the road instead of tearing it up, repaving it, tearing it up, repaving it, and now tearing it up again. It's incredible.
Also, like, today people were on something just because people like don't understand not blocking the box.
Trust me, yeah.
So they create gridlock, and I watched a lady in a car whip into the turn lane that turns onto a highway and use that to go around people blocking the box, only to get stuck in the same traffic that was blocking the box. So she was then blocking the people who were trying to get out onto the highway who were already blocking the box, creating just basically this massive gridlock.
I saw the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well, because people turned off the highway onto that road and then immediately tried to merge.
Yeah.
So they just completely blocked it like up onto the highway because no one could actually turn, because instead of getting on the road and driving and merging, they were just blocking it. It's incredible. I feel like people have been getting worse at driving because I've seen somebody run that light up there by that highway like multiple times in the past 2 weeks. Just like run it. Like it's not even a whatever. It's like speeding up and yeah.
I've also seen people blatantly, because there's like that. There's the light. So there's that exit for the highway, and then there's the light immediately after that, which is where I turn to get home.
Yeah.
And I have watched people just drive through the red, like it's blatantly a red.
Yeah.
Like there's traffic going, but you're just like, you just go.
Was it a Mitsubishi?
No,
I saw a black Mitsubishi hatchback run like 3 red lights. Like, you know, where the highway traffic crosses and can like turn or whatever. He just like came up to that and just kept going. And it was incredible. It was just like, guy, you're going to get T-boned. Like, what are you doing? These guys are coming off the highway.
No, it's been multiple people at multiple different times during the day, at night, do just like, I'm done waiting at this absolute hellscape.
Yeah.
Which is just like, I mean, I'd like to be able to like not have to drive in this area, but it's my choice and I have no other options. Anyway, the other...
Let us know in the comments if you think people are getting worse at driving, because I feel like it's been not just me thinking it.
No,
it's been like
I think there's been actual studies about this where like something with like COVID or whatever, I don't know. But in the last final thing is the no turn on red signs. People just ignore those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get honked at sometimes when it's like, you know, the one off the highway where it's no turn right on red.
Yeah.
And I'll just be up and it's like, well, it says no right turn on red. I want to follow, you know, the rules of the road as much as I can. Like, I'll speed every once in a while. But it's like, guys, I don't want to just run a red light just because you want to get home 12 seconds faster.
It's also a complete blind turn in which people drive like 55.
Yeah.
So, like, I
know how fast I drive on that road sometimes. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not going to turn right onto this, guys. I'm not stupid. Like, I don't care how fast you want to be going. It's,
I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't have a city street that's like 8 lanes wide as well.
Yeah. Well, it's just straight up you mark it 35 miles an hour, but it's 8 lanes. So what do you think is going to happen? Like, people are just going to drive like 50, 60 miles an hour.
And
like, that's what you've designed the road speed as.
Yeah, it's 8 lanes, so you're driving really quickly, and then you hit a notorious highway exit that backs up constantly, which the amount of people who have gotten in horrific crashes and have died at this intersection is insane. And then if you make it through that, you then hit where it's one lane for like half a mile. So like you have people who are going like basically highway speeds, running a gauntlet of cars turning all over the place, and then hitting a 1 lane street.
Yeah, And it's I feel like we've done this episode and people have talked about this ad nauseum, but it's just traffic engineering here and everywhere else in the country where we're going to design a freeway style regular road, but then we're going to enforce the speed limit of 25 by hopes and prayers, I guess. Like, we're going to design this road where it looks like you should be going 90. Everybody's going to be going 90, so everybody else is going to be going 90. It feels like you're crawling if you're going any slower than that. But it's 25 miles an hour by city ordinance. And it's like, okay, well, that's just not, just like put in trees, just make it an actual 25 mile an hour road. You know, it's like engineers have just gone insane.
I don't know. And it's like literally every other road heading towards the studio is quite possibly like also a mess. It's not as bad as this way, but also like, am I really going to go a mile extra out of my way to go down a road that's like slightly less inconvenient?
Yeah, no. I'm looking at the biking routes to get from my house to my work, and it's like, that's the one where I might actually just go like 10 minutes out of the way so I don't die.
Yes, you don't have to go through the intersection of hell.
Which I think that on bike would be easier because there is sidewalks, and now the construction zone effectively acts as a bike lane because it's still paved. There's just cones. You can like go up it. So I think that commute would actually be a lot easier on e-bike because you effectively have sidewalk and bike lane for like 90% of it, except for when you turn left. Like I think it wouldn't be that bad. I would just need to purchase an e-bike, and my work doesn't have a bike rack, so I'd have to figure that out too. Just take it up to my desk.
Yeah. Or figure out what to do when it's 110 degrees because climate change exists, and you, even with a pedal-assisted bike, you're still sweaty as hell.
So you get the level 3 bike where you just turn the throttle on, turn cruise control on to 25, cruising. My work does also have a shower, so.
They have a shower?
Yes, because they have a gym.
God damn.
I mean, it's like a hotel gym, but they have a shower.
So, like, I've never understood, like, those weird benefits where it's just like, who is working out at their work gym?
A lot of people, actually. Like, there's always a lot of people in there. What I've never understood is, how do you fit that in your day? Because, like, you're at work. Are you just using your entire lunch break to work out? Are you doing, like, a 25-minute workout? Like what's going on there? Because it closes at like 7, so it's like I guess you could go after work, but who's going to go back to the office after like the office is closed?
Or are you showing up like an hour early?
I guess
working
I
out?
Know about that?
Yeah, no. From my understanding, you're a person who's skating in 5 minutes late every single day.
I'm usually either 2 minutes late or 2 minutes early. It varies. So, but I ain't giving no free work.
Also, your employer has like beer just in the office.
Yeah, which would be a lot nicer if I drank beer.
Yeah.
It is a little bit weird to just see that group of people stand up at 3 o'clock, walk over to the fridge, and come back with like Miller Lights. And it's just like, yeah, let's get slightly buzzed or something on a Friday and still have an hour and a half of work left.
Let's get buzzed and sell insurance.
Yeah, it's just like not. I don't feel like that's it, Coach. I'll wait till I get home.
Man, the office cultures, both like in the office and I guess for work from home people, I guess that's just an aspect of being like a late 20s person. Is you see a bunch of people where they have like really weird office dynamics. Like you have alcohol and a gym, and like mine, they haven't updated anything in like years.
Well, I feel like, since we're the first generation to ever go through having to like work in an office.
Yeah.
And we're really kind of just treading new ground here and broaching the topics of work-life culture, and I don't know.
It's totally like there's not been movies about work-life culture at all.
Exactly.
It's not like Office Space existed in the 90s.
It's just whatever generation we're a part of is finally hitting so this is really it. At least we're finally, our generation younger are finally kind of starting to be like hey, maybe like having to sit in traffic for 30 minutes every single day there and back is not actually like liberating and like a showcase of the freedom of America. Like maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe it is kind of nice in like New York to just have like sit on the subway on your phone or like read a book for 30 minutes.
Or like take a walk and get your brain like functioning. So you don't like, I'm not sure about other people, but after like driving on a commute to work and then you sit down in your like cubicle and you're just like, my brain still isn't on because I got up 45 minutes ago.
I feel like COVID with the, in terms of everybody becoming a worse driver, I feel like it was like this big reset where a lot of people either stopped working for like a month, like going to the office regularly, or started working from home more often. And I think it's made a lot of people, probably like, you know, like half the country or whatever, realize, wow, that my commute really sucks. Like they were just kind of in the routine, you know, just driving to work, whatever, that's how it was. And then they suddenly didn't have to drive to work and stuff. And then they realized just how bad it actually was. Like, wow, sitting in bumper to bumper traffic on 435 for 45 minutes every single morning at 7:30 really kind of sucks. Like, this is just not an enjoyable use of my time. And my work is effectively extended by 2 hours every single day because I have to do this every single day.
Plus,
and just waking up and being at work or like being able to go for a walk or whatever.
and the thing that employers hate but like exists is in the world of office email jobs. Like, there's plenty of times where you have multiple hours where there's like nothing really going on. And if that's not the case for you, then I'm sorry. But like there's times where like I just like I have like an hour or two where I'm just like, well, I guess it's, I don't know, play on my phone time, I guess.
Yeah.
And like working from home, you could like slide away from the computer and like do your laundry.
Yeah, like,
or like make yourself like
still be productive.
Yeah.
Just be able to get some house chores done while you're not 100% on at work.
Yeah. But, you know, it knowing us, if you were full work from home, you would have just devoted your entire life to our new Minecraft server we set up and not actually work the entire time.
Yeah, I do have the Raspberry Pi going.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Because we're late 20s losers with a podcast. We now have a Minecraft server.
Yes.
That we were also debating not recording, even though we put in an announcement saying we were going to start recording again to just go on that server. But
it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
I'm building the Sears Tower. But I just feel like that's kind of, I've been seeing a push, and I know it's probably a thing that always happens with the younger generation is wanting change and stuff, but it's like I have genuinely been seeing a lot more people being more pro transit bike or whatever, including us. I mean, that's half the reason we kind of made a transition to podcast around the pandemic.
We never shut up about it.
Well, but you think about that with us too. It happened around the pandemic where we were just kind of like realizing all this stuff. That's like, wow, this, and it's just like, I mean, I'm not saying it's like perfect in a place with a subway where like New Yorkers and Chicagoites and LA people still hate their jobs, but I'm just saying that like 30-minute commute is much more productive when you're much like working from home, just like reading a book or listening to music or doing like anything other than trying to not die in traffic, you know?
Yeah. And one thing we do need to talk about, which is basically a transit system review, because I know we've done that at basically every city we visited. We haven't done one since we've been to DC.
Yeah, we did go to DC recently.
Yeah, I mean, you already did one for your like.
But you've now been. You hadn't been to DC before.
Yeah. So RC did 24 hours in DC, I guess a year ago, and then we did a DC for like 5 days
ish. Yeah.
And took transit all over the place. We went to deep into the heart of Virginia via transit.
Yeah, we took a bike, the DC bike, whatever.
Yep.
Through Lyft.
Yes, we did the like DC rideshare bikes.
Yeah, those are nice.
I don't think we were in a car once that entire trip.
Took an Uber that one time.
Well, we did take an Uber. Yes.
One time to get from deep in Virginia to Ford's Theater, and we had to be there in like 20 minutes.
No, we were in Georgetown because we had to go to Georgetown Cupcakes.
Is that in DC? I thought that was across the...
No, if you're thinking of Alexandria. That's in Virginia. Georgetown is in DC.
Oh.
Georgetown.
Either way, we had to take the car once.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that.
Yes.
Only once.
We had to go get cupcakes.
Yes. They were pretty good cupcakes, but they were pretty expensive. Good.
I am thoroughly impressed by their system. I guess that's what happens when like the seat of power is in your like, you know, city. You can like have transit funding and have something that's like actually like good and clean. because it was like also a very clean city, all things considered, from the cities that I've been to. Like it compared to like a New York City, which I've spent a good amount of time in, it's a leaps and bounds cleaner than that.
It probably helps that it was Memorial Day weekend in DC too, but
yeah, that would also probably help.
I have to say, it really makes me kind of do the what could have been with the LBJ presidency, because if he didn't have Vietnam as like the thing that was basically absorbing like 85% of his time, bombing kids in Cambodia or whatever. I know that was Nixon, but it just makes me wonder, because it's like he managed to basically single-handedly get this, Atlanta, and what was the third one? Did he only do the two?
No, I think he did the BART in the Bay Area.
Yeah, Bay Area Rapid Transit. Yeah, he did San Francisco, Atlanta, and D.C., and they have like really good subway systems that still exist today and have been expanded. DC especially, so you basically build in the 60s and it continues. It's basically like, man, if he had only been focusing on the Great Society, put a subway in every home and like a chicken in every pot bullshit, rather than bombing kids in Vietnam. I mean, like KC would have had a subway that would have been constructed in the 60s and probably would have been pretty robust right now. It kind of makes me think of the decline of the cities in like the 90s, where like every urban center was like a hellscape, and how that might have been mitigated by them actually, like a Kansas City actually having some form of a regional transit to keep suburbanites going into the downtown core.
And that's always wild, because I think... I'm not sure where I saw this. Something on the cell phone where people were talking about how the resurgence of cities in the past 30 years needs to be talked about, because it's insane. If you're like looking back 30 years ago, like if you're looking in like 1994, and you just like teleport someone from 1994 to 2024, they would be in absolute shock in the state of most American cities in how great they've improved.
My aunt used to work in downtown KC, and then she didn't. Her office got moved or something, and then she hasn't been back. And then she went back recently. She's like, "Oh my god!" Like when I was working there, it was like a ghost town. Like pretty much, everybody goes in for work and then leaves, and there's nothing going on outside of that except for maybe like, like a concert at a venue that she wouldn't have cared about because the Sprint Center didn't exist and all that. And just it versus now, where it's like you have power and light, you have stuff actually happening all the time. You have people actually living in downtown, not just commuting there for work. It's like, it is incredible. And I'm sure it's been happening everywhere else other than here, but it is just incredible just how, even as much as we complain or as much as groups like are like, wow, it sucks, it's like it is a lot better now here. Maybe the buses aren't as good, I don't know, but like there's a lot more going on in downtown. It's a lot more strong, I suppose, like government-wise, tax base-wise. There's actually people living there paying taxes. It's not just like...
And I don't know. My reflections of DC. It was a great trip, but it was just like, once again, one of those what could have been for the city we actually live in. But great city, great town. Shout out to the dive bars that we frequented with.
Pretty good.
I was told.
Name drop them.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean,
Shout out,
we went to Ivy and Coney and Tallboy on a regular basis.
Yeah, Tallboy fucks.
Tallboy did rock. That was a great bar. That is by the convention center, somewhere like just north of like on like 11th, I think. Anyway, you have the power of the internet. Look it up, but it's by the convention center. Great deals. For all things considered, for like a major American city, like I was expecting to pay way more for food and drink, and I guess that's what happened when you go to like dives.
I think it helps that it's not as expensive as like a New York or San Francisco to live there, and so rent is cheaper for the businesses, so therefore the prices can be cheaper. That's my little back of the napkin economics.
I mean,
I feel like it's just they're able to offer cheaper food and cheaper drinks because they don't have to pay as much in rent, because they're not in New York and San Francisco levels of weird not building buildings.
Well, DC has the height limit. Also, like the rent is like still like big city level, because I did go on like Zillow to browse apartment costs in DC.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's just kind of like a thing where DC has to like regulate their costs a little bit because you're adhered to whatever the government pay schedule is.
Well, again, actual DC has like the artificially high costs because it's tiny and like directly like they don't have any more space. You know, like they're a big city surrounded by cities, like kind of like a Jackson Hole, Wyoming, right? Like they can't actually build out more and they can't build up more because they have a height limit. So that's where it's like you don't live in D.C. You got to live in like Virginia or Maryland.
Well, Virginia and Maryland are also pretty, expensive, all things considered, from what I saw on Zillow.
How is it compared to like Baltimore or something? Like
Baltimore is way cheaper. I would put money on Baltimore being way cheaper to live in than D.C.
Yeah, I haven't looked at D.C. recently because I would rather kill myself than live on the East Coast.
That's big talk for a man who was probably going to end up on the East Coast no matter what.
Not if I can help it, but yeah.
You're not going to be able to help it. Anyway, so this has been a good 20-minute long intro to what we were planning on talking about. Hard pivot.
Should we probably timestamp this one? Yeah, so people who actually tune in wanting to hear about the topic and figure it out.
Yeah.
This was a good conversation.
So, Kansas City is hosting World Cup games in 2026.
We talked about this years ago, yeah.
Yes, we've been talking about this for a while. So there's been rumors that Kansas City might even have a semifinal game, all of which could potentially be a disaster, and we have some confirmation of it being a disaster because this is from the Kansas City Star, and it starts, the title is a question: why did Kansas City's World Cup director suddenly quit? And she's not the only one. And this is by Sam McDowell. This came out today on June 26th. And 2 years before the World Cup descends on Kansas City, the executive director of the planning organization for the tournament has quit the project, the Star has learned. She is not the only one either. Catherine Holland, who served as both the director of Kansas City's World Cup bid and later the entity KC2026 tasked with executing the blueprint, resigned from her job last week, multiple sources told the Star. Although she offered to stay with KC2026 during a transitional period due an inevitable successor, her resignation was accepted as effective immediately, sources said. At the time of perpetual urgency for the biggest event in Kansas City history, it is a jolting, if not stunning, shakeup, except for those on the inside. Rather than a sudden surprise, they describe it as a predictable finale after a series of changes to the job. Holland said she did not want to publicly comment on her departure, which the organization has not publicly announced, but the Star did speak to roughly half of the 17-member board of directors and executive community. Well, formerly 17. Brian Platt, the city manager for Kansas City, also recently quit his position on the board of directors. He confirmed to the Star. He declined to elaborate, but those who spoke with us pointed to his resignation as evidence that more than one person could relate to the perceived reason for Holland's departure: a lack of desired influence.
Yeah, I feel like this was predictable. I feel like if we didn't talk about this, we were definitely thinking about it. Is just the state line is causing probably a lot of issues. Because you have not one, not two, but like 4 municipalities involved in this whole decision-making process. Because they have 3 locations, right? Mm-hmm. They've got the Children's Mercy Park in Kansas. They've got the KU facility in Lawrence, and they've got, I think, the KC current location in Kansas City, just for like the training facilities for 3 of the teams. Yeah. So you've got it in 3 different, Wyandotte County, Douglas County, and Jackson County, just for that, let alone Johnson County being involved in hotels, maybe, what's the other county? I don't know, like Raytown and stuff.
Yeah, and it's probably hard to give a overarching organization that's only temporary enough power to be able to pull this off, which is why, we've talked about it for years at this point, that like the charter bus plan, we've made fun of it, but it makes more sense in this situation if they've not been given the desired influence to be able to like do something better than just charter buses.
And that's the thing, is we've talked about the charter bus plan years ago. The first time we talked about this, I don't remember the episode. If you can find it, leave it in the comments. But they haven't posted anything other than whatever article we read that mentioned the charter bus plan. There's been no transit plan. There's been no anything. There's been no information for the most part. The only information that's on the KC2026 website is a year ago they hired a former Kansas Department of Transportation official to be in charge of the transportation planning for the group. And then they announced the schedule. They announced another thing, the schedule. And then they announced this, firing. Or I guess quitting. And that's like it. It's been like quitting. 5 articles over the course of the last 2 years posted by the official thing. Nothing about, hey, here's our kind of temporary plan for transit. Hey, here's what you need to do to plan. It's just like,
good to quit 2 years out, because this will at least be able to allow you to like Pontius Pilate your way out of this and save your career. And whoever is of the 15 people left on the board, if they don't also dip, could potentially like nuke whatever career they have focused on if this is the boondoggle we think it might be.
I'm not in the know, right? Like, we don't have any inside sources. We're just reading this and kind of pontificating on it. But I feel like this is less of a, I'm trying to save my career, and more of a frustration quit, where you're not listening to me. You guys aren't doing what we're saying. We're telling you we need to do this. You're ignoring us. We're basically getting no movement from the city, right? Like, hey, we need buses. Okay, well, where are we getting the money to do that? Okay, no government wants to pony up anything. Okay, well, you want the World Cup. Everybody wants the World Cup, but nobody wants to pay for it. Okay, well, me quitting will make, Sam McDowell will write an article about this, and that'll make us look bad, right? And that's about all I can do to actually get some movement going is, hey, this looks like it's turning into a clusterfuck via my quitting. That's what I think is happening.
They're gonna we're gonna fuck this up. We're going to be an international, and I think we said this before, we're going to be an international embarrassment in previous episodes. As we've mentioned this as well. It's not going to go well.
If we had like a if we treated this like it was the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Like Paris won the Olympics bid. It was like 6 or 8 years out from the Olympics, and they were able to. They were doing a massive subway expansion. They're doing, stadium construction. They're doing the stuff every country does when they host the Olympics. Like Qatar. Qatar hosted the World Cup last time, and they did all this massive construction and stuff. And obviously, France, an entire country hosting a World Cup. Qatar, an entire country hosting a World Cup. Kansas City is a city that's one host of multiple cities in the U.S. that's not getting any federal funding for this. Obviously, the power is different here. But, like, if we had just had a cohesive plan from the start, other than the cohesive plan to win the bid, then we could have actually started on getting some form of, hey, let's order some buses now and start training people now, and then, have them practice driving for the next 3 years, and then there you go.
Yeah, the ability to plan, but also, like, I mean, you made that point about those countries spending money. It would also probably be nice if the federal government started cutting money to not embarrass the United States in the World Cup.
I think there's a certain point, and obviously we don't know how this is going. We don't know what's happening behind the sines, but there's a certain point where it's like, guys, we might need to just go to the feds hat in hand and be like, hey, can we have like a couple $100 billion to maybe like do something? Like, hey, guys, I know that we're doing all this, like, Amtrak, whatever, but New York has a regional transit system. Los Angeles does. Seattle does. Dallas kind of does. I mean, Dallas is Dallas. I don't really care about them. Chicago does. No, Chicago didn't win a bid, did they? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. All these other larger cities have one. We're kind of the odd ones out who don't have a regional transit system. We barely have a bus network. We have one streetcar line that is going to be open, but it doesn't go to the cities or the stadiums. And it's just like, guys, we needed to really. I know it takes a long time to build transit in this country, but guys, we really needed to like start this before we won the bid. Like, this isn't going to work. It's just 70,000 people, 70,000 presumably euros, because they're going to open up the tickets to everybody and they're going to go really quickly. And if you're a German whose team makes the World Cup, you're going to go see your team no matter where they are. You're not going to look at Kansas City and be like, oh, that's not New York, I'm not going to go. You're going to go because it's the World Cup and it's exciting. And then you may or may not realize that Kansas City, you're going to have to rent a car and you're going to have to know how to drive in the U.S.
And the thing is that I know deep down inside the federal government has the power to like snap their fingers and be able to like pull something out of nowhere relatively quickly. It's just they are afraid to do it because they could also the jealousy of other cities. Like, I'm sure it would go over horribly if the federal government snapped their fingers 3 years ago and built Kansas City an entire transit system for the World Cup.
Well, it happens all the time, though, with like highways and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like a highway bridge collapses in Philadelphia or L.A., and then it's open in a week. And it's like, okay, so you guys have the ability to reconstruct like an 8, 10, 12-lane highway in like a couple of days, but you can't basically recertify existing track for like usage with passenger rail and like ship a couple of Amtrak, chargers down there. Like, we can't do this. That's orders of magnitude cheaper.
I'm just excited for insert person here visiting the United States for the visiting Kansas City and watching a average Kansas Citian talk with pride about our streetcar because the streetcar extension will be done when really our streetcar is embarrassing compared to actual transit systems. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the big streetcar fan over here. It's nothing compared to someone coming from Munich using the Munich transit system.
It's a good system. But basically, if we had the New York subway system and we also had the streetcar, then it would be like, oh yeah, the streetcar, we're really proud of it because it's like the best streetcar system in the U.S. But we do also have a fully functioning transit system to go along with it. But right now, it's like it's the best streetcar in the U.S. per mile on ridership basis. Mm-hmm. But it also is only just now going to actually go places. Like before, it went from the River Market to Union Station, and only just now with this expansion, almost 8 years later, is it going to actually go anywhere like UMKC and the Plaza? But it's like, guys, that's great, but it's like it's not like Metrolink in St. Louis. It's like that is like a 40-mile light rail system.
You can get to the airport with that.
Just straight up that. It connects the airport to downtown. We don't have that. And that's the larger thing, is it's just like, let alone getting people from downtown to the stadium, which I suppose we already do for Chiefs games, ignoring the fact that we had Beyonce here last year and the highway completely shut down. And it doesn't do that every time we have a Chiefs game, but it did do that for a Beyonce concert, which is something we don't have every single year.
Because people who go to the Chiefs game kind of a system down, which takes years to learn.
It's primarily local people.
Yeah. If it's your first concert, Beyonce concert at Arrowhead, and it's your first time going to Arrowhead, Arrowhead is kind of confusing to navigate to. Mm-hmm.
Well, Chiefs games, you got a lot of people carpooling. You got a lot of people who already know how to get there. You got a lot of people locally who are experts. But Beyonce, you had a lot of people from out of town who own their own cars. So they got one up on the Euros or whoever. I guess we could host does Japan have a FIFA team? I have to assume.
We could host we could host Cameroon, South Africa, and
just literally anybody.
Yeah,
anybody. Everybody's gonna come here because it's the World Cup and that's what they do. But they're not gonna have a car because they're out of the country, so they're gonna have to rent a car, probably, if they even know they have to rent a car, because they do have a bus system going from the airport to downtown, but it's every 45 minutes, so you're gonna have people piling up. And it's just like a nightmare. I mean, it's just like a slow rolling nightmare we can see happening. And I would feel more assuaged if they had a transit plan in place. But they put the request for proposal out for the transit plan 22 days ago. It's on their website.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
22 days ago.
It's less than 2 years away.
They're asking for people to bid to plan something, and it's just okay, we need to order buses. What are we doing?
You know what my at this point, you know what my bid would be? My bid would be everyone in Kansas City is drafted into the Uber pool, and we're just going to use our cars as Uber drivers. That's what we're going to have to do.
Well, even that, it's okay, you got 70,000 tourists, and then that's we're just assuming that it's the entire stadium capacity of Arrowhead. But what happens if there's another 20,000 Germans that come here that I don't know why I've picked Germany for this, by the way, but they're my example nation, who don't have tickets but want to support their team. They want to show out. Hey, my team's going to be in Kansas City on these days. I've been wanting to go to the U.S. The World Cup's in the U.S. this year. I may as well go. Whatever. I don't have tickets, but I'll go see the sights in Kansas City. That guy needs an Uber too. That guy needs a car too. So it could be well over 70,000 people. I guess we don't know until tickets open and stuff. So even Ubers, it's okay, we have the Uber network to support regular Kansas City Uber traffic.
Not really. I'm not sure you've ever taken an Uber in Kansas City proper. You don't like Ubers taking them at all, basically.
No,
but
I don't.
I've taken quite a few, and they're kind of hard at certain times to get.
And that's the point, is we have Kansas City Ubers. We're not New York, so it's not a very lucrative Uber market, I would assume. But then all of a sudden you're adding 90,000 other people here who are going to be here for like a week or two. I don't know how long the World Cup goes for, but I imagine if we're having a quarterfinal...
It goes on for like a month.
Yeah, and they're not just going to go home every night.
No.
Back to Germany. So I'm just like, we're going to suddenly get like 100,000 extra people in town for an extended period of time who are all going to either need to rent cars. How many of them are going to want to rent cars for an entire month? Or they're going to need to use buses. Buses which don't go to Johnson County. Oops, sorry, Oak Park Mall. Sorry, all those places. You're not going to get any of this tourism money because Johnson County refuses to actually have a bus system.
Also, like, wherever your hotel or Airbnb is, you got to park that rental car. And God forbid your rental car is a Kia.
Yeah, and like, okay, so we had a parade. We won the Super Bowl this year, right? And I know you didn't go because you didn't go with me, but we won the Super Bowl.
There was also a mass shooting at that parade.
I was going to bring that up because it's depressing, but yes, there was a mass shooting. But okay, we had a Super Bowl parade this year, right? Everybody in Kansas City and the whole metro suddenly wants to go downtown. So what did we do? We enlisted a bunch of buses.
School buses, right?
And Ride KC buses. Yeah, just a bunch of buses because schools were out. So school districts donated them. And you had the Ride KC official buses that I assume were taken out of service for the day and put in. And they just had a constant shuttle with about like a 2-minute headway going from park and rides across the metro. The one I went to was at the Oak Park Mall in Johnson County. You can look it up. That was the closest one to me. And 2-minute headway, you get on, go down, 15, 20-minute bus ride. And then same way coming back. That was great. That's how they need to do it. But the problem is if they do it, are you going to shut down every single school in the metro for the World Cup? Because they shut it down because it was a parade. It was a one-day event. Everybody wanted to go. People were going to take off school for it anyways. Are you going to take buses and cancel a bunch of bus lines for a month?
Well, the World Cup, I think, is happening in July. So,
well, like school buses, but they also use the Ride KC buses. Like, are we going to take a bunch of regular service bus lines out of service to shuttle people from the airport to downtown?
I don't know.
And then once you have that, then all the tourists suddenly downtown don't have buses to get around because all of them are being used as shuttles. It's just like...
Those are good points. Yeah. So back to the article. Holland served as the point of contact for FIFA officials for years and is the only executive director the group has had since the 2023 inception. She assumed the position in May of 2023, and she also was previously the director for the bid itself, which concluded with Kansas City being named as one of the 11 American host cities of the World Cup.
So she beat Chicago. She was in charge of the proposal that got the smallest host city and the smallest market to win. I'm not going to lie, also, I forgot we were reading the article when I was just going off.
Yeah.
So she is a very competent individual. She was able to beat out a lot of major U.S. cities for this. So she's not a slouch.
Kansas City, a city that fancies an ability to punch above its weight as a defining characteristic, is the smallest U.S. metropolitan area awarded World Cup matches for 2026. KC will play to host a quarterfinal game too. That is confirmed. Thank you, Kansas City Star. 5 people inside the organization, though, told the Star that while Holland was named executive director for KC 2026, the title carried more weight than her voice did. And the speculation is that's what prompted her resignation last week. Quote, they gave her the job, but you could tell pretty early on they didn't really want her in charge, end quote, one member of the board of directors said. Open quote, maybe they didn't think she was the right fit for the job, I don't know, but it was never really her doing the job as it was initially described, end quote. Holland reported to the 5-member executive committee that oversees all elements of KC 2026, with Karen Daniel, a retired chief financial officer of Black & Veatch, as its president, that the committee also includes Jack Reed, Sporting KC's team president and CEO, Neil Sharma, former CEO of DEG, Kathy Nelson, president and CEO at the Kansas City Sports Commission and Visit KC, Esther George, the former president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. Shortly after starting her role, Holland was told the executive committee would meet without her, multiple people said. Then, earlier this year, She was given a title change, which included a salary reduction. Holy shit! They cut her pay, and a move that surprised some members of the board who said they requested more information about the decision. Within that time, KC2026 tabbed Pam Kramer as its chief operating officer. Kramer widely expected to receive Holland's former job. Several have expressed confidence in Kramer, a portion emphasis on portion, not all, did so while also stressing the need to pick up the pace, which is 2 years shy of the global tournament and its wave of fans and teams landing in Kansas City. This is not pertinent to get back to the back and forth of the disagreement on the pace of work towards the World Cup, as it is to a point out its existence, because several who spoke with the Star adamantly disagreed that they are falling behind in any manner, while some say KC2026 should have more concrete transportation plans by now. Others describe the task as on schedule and full steam ahead. People who think it's full...
I just reply to Sam McDowell every time he tweets about this, asking where the transportation plan is.
Yeah. You get the idea. You can't ignore the political representation of the group in this conversation between the 5-member executive committee and more apparently throughout the existence of the board of directors. There are an array of voices representing different sectors of the metro. These groups combined include state senators on both sides of the state line, politicos from 3 counties and 2 cities, representatives from 3 professional sports teams in Kansas City. You also probably can't ignore the financial contributions in this contribution. The state of Missouri has promised $50 million, with $28 million coming from Kansas, $15 million coming from Kansas City, Missouri, and recently just $1.5 million from Johnson County. And Sidebars is in the article, that is the wealthiest county in the state of Kansas, in addition to other public and private funding.
Which, but pointing out, though, I guess, in defense, Douglas County and Wyandotte County are not contributing anything. Even though, like, Douglas County is going to play host to a bunch of stuff. Also, like, what's that, 50, 60, 70, 80, about 90-some million dollars. That's not a lot of money to host, like, a bunch of World Cup games. That's, like, not, like, a lot of money, I think.
In addition with other public and private funding. So maybe those counties have contributed money. But it... On a whole, back is my little rebuttal. We don't know if Douglas or Wyandotte have contributed or not, but also Johnson County is significantly way more wealthy than those 2 counties. Yeah. We only need to backtrack a couple months to 2 pro sports teams, the Chiefs and the Royals, attempting to secure funding for their stadium proposals for a reminder of the difficulty, to put lightly, in reaching complete harmony when a group that is this expansive and the finances are significant. The irony here is that during its bid to land the World Cup, Kansas City delivered a theme to FIFA that proved effective. Unity. Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was kind of the whole thing. It's just like, we all want it. We're a big group. We all want it. But then it's becoming evident they just didn't have an actual plan. They had a really good plan to win it, but then they didn't actually have any fundamentals behind that plan to back it up and make it happen.
So I'm confused on why, like, you wanted to give the boot to the lady who they went to fucking FIFA, a organization that's incredibly difficult to deal with, and somehow convinced them to pick Kansas City.
This is all getting back to the beginning of the episode when we're talking about office politics. I'm sure she's somehow annoyed a couple people in the organization, even though she's proven herself incredibly competent in managing a group towards a goal. I'm guessing a couple people didn't like her, and then she gets fired.
The makeup of the board underneath the umbrella of the executive committee certainly includes those accustomed to steering the ship. Yeah, that makes sense. A year ago, Holland did recommend 3 specific hires that would have placed separate individuals in charge of transportation, community engagement, and public relations and marketing. That would be a good idea. That was my comment at the end. Some said the group did not have a budget for that, and others took it as an early sign that Holland would not have the autonomy to make such decisions. This month, the group added Julie Lorenz as a senior advisor for transportation. I wonder, is that the KDOT?
Yeah, she's from former Kansas Department of Transportation. She works for like 1899 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So she does actually know about transit, but she also It was about transit in Kansas, which is mostly highways.
Yeah. This is going to be there. That's certainly in the weeds on all of this, but that's the point in mentioning it. If you can talk enough of those on the board or serving on the executive committee, you can find plenty of opinions. Open quote. There is a phenomenal board that has the capacity and capability to assist in a meaningful way, and the executive committee is not getting the full depth and breadth of what's available to them, end quote, one said. That statement, to underscore once more, is not shared by all. Several, in fact, well, because there's 17 people on the goddamn committee. Anyway, several, in fact, expressed an ahead-of-schedule smooth operation that has made significant progress, including securing 3 KC area sites, including Lawrence, among the initial 24 options for team-based camps. Guys, we've known about this for years. You should have secured that in the first year.
Very obviously suffering from a case of nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news. Nobody wants to say, hey, we're over budget and behind schedule. Nobody wants to be the one saying bad news. Everybody just wants to be, yeah, everything's fine. We're going great. It's on schedule. We're 2 years out. We still don't have a transportation plan for how to move 90,000 people across the metro. But
those cans, by the way, are seen as the biggest financial driver of the tournament. Yeah, but you probably should have
it's obvious. And now this is even more obvious after she's quit, that everything is not A-OK. Everything is not proceeding smoothly. But nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to come out and say, hey, this bid that everybody's proud of, that's the biggest thing that ever happened in Casey's history, we're not handling it well, guys.
Okay, 24 options are too much. I obviously understand there's some delusions of grandeur where there's probably some sports organization that thinks that they have enough facilities to host teams. Picking 3 sites should have been done in the first year you knew about it.
24 options. Let me make it really easy. Okay, you have probably 10 major sports teams in a giant area, right? Mm-hmm. You've got KU, you've got Mizzou, which is a bit out there.
Yeah.
You've got maybe the Wildcats. You've got the Royals, wouldn't work as great. You got the Chiefs. You got 2 soccer teams. You've got, maybe the Mavericks. Maybe, I don't know what their practice facilities look like. It's ice. It wouldn't work. And then you've got a bunch of high schools around the area, right? The obvious ones are KC Current, Sporting KC, both soccer teams, both have a soccer field, both have soccer practice facilities. The Chiefs would be good, except for that's the host site, wouldn't work as well. So let's go Royals, that's baseball, field isn't going to be big enough. Okay, Kansas, football team, they already have soccer teams. There you go. That's how you pick it.
And that's the closest. Really that's the closest D1 university.
Yeah.
Should have. Granted, we're
we have the hindsight, but UMKC doesn't have any sports teams. JUCO, JCCC, has sports teams. It's a bit of a drive. They're not really big ones like D4.
We are Monday morning quarterbacking this, but also
somebody's got to. It's not going well. It's just nobody's quarterbacking it. So the Monday morning quarterback, it's okay, but there is no quarterback.
There's a bunch of people who are used to being quarterback that aren't actually playing quarterback because they think it's someone else's job to play quarterback. Anyway,
it took 2 years to figure out that hey, maybe we should just use the major sporting teams' facilities.
Wow. Anyway, during a conversation, most specifically about transportation and the city's still to be announced World Cup Fan Fest site, a FIFA official, it's going to be a parking lot, right? They're going to pick a random parking lot for the FIFA.
I think the FIFA World Cup Fan Fest site, looking at the KC2026 website, they have a bunch of potential locations. It's going to be Power and Light. That's what it's going to be.
Then just say it's Power and Light.
It's going to be KC Live. That's what it's going to be.
Why would you not just say it's going to be Power and Light?
Cut to during the game, the World Cup Fan Fest site, and it's going to be the same camera angle of Power and Light they used for the Copa America when they were showing the U.S. teams.
Then why are you waiting to announce it? Just say it's going to be the fucking Power and Light. Anyway,
they need to get money from people first. It's FIFA. They got to get $20 million from Cordish or something to be able to announce that.
Now, a FIFA official, this is from the article, a FIFA official told the Star it does not think Kansas City is lagging behind other host cities. But there is one area in which everyone is aligned. There is much to be done, as expected, on a project unlike any that Kansas City has experienced in its history. And one fewer person shouldering the load. And yes, and thank you, Sam McDowell. It was a great article.
He's a good reporter.
Anyway.
If anyone's listening to this from KC2026, our email is at cleohistorypodcast@gmail.com. Email us. We can give you advice if you need help. We don't know what we're doing necessarily with all of this, but we probably can figure out a lot of really simple things faster than you guys can, apparently.
Yeah. And if you need someone to, like, I don't know, deliver an envelope to FIFA, I'm also down for that job.
Yeah, we can do that.
FIFA loves their envelopes.
It's not bribery if it's from a private citizen.
No,
right?
it's not. And, I think we can probably... I think if we had the backing of a few, like, former CEOs of companies, we could drum up a few extra $1 million from here and there.
2018, we ordered 38 buses for $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you do. 2024 now, you get like $20 million. You get like 25 buses. That's all you need. Just have those circulate between the airport, all that, and then just pick the sites and then just work from there.
Do you want us to go knock on doors? I'll knock on doors being like, hey, can you give like a $5 donation to the FIFA thing?
Hey, do you want to see the Germans win in Kansas City, or do you want to see an American win in Kansas City? Donate $5 today to help Team USA, and then we just put it towards KC.
I will have random people throughout the Kansas City metro area slam their doors in my face if you are giving me a salary.
That's true. Yeah, I'll do a lot for money.
I mean, granted, there's a lot of people who do a lot for money here as well, because this entire thing's about money, including cutting like a person who won the goddamn bid's pay. Anyway,
a little bit of a non sequitur, but I just thought about this. Did you see? We actually were hosting the CONCACAF finals. It's like the North America, South America soccer finals. We hosted a match here at Children's Mercy Park. Did you see that one of the refs passed out during the game?
Really?
From heat exhaustion?
Oh my God, no.
Yeah. And also Children's Mercy Park logistically was like completely fucking swamped. Like it was really, really bad. It was like Paraguay and Belize playing, I think. Or no, Canada and like Paraguay playing.
Canada and Peru.
Yes. I knew it was a P. And it was just like completely swamped, and it's like that's just I hope you guys are writing that down, just looking at a much smaller game at a 30,000 person stadium across state lines. I hope you guys are writing it down is all I'll say.
Yeah, all right. I'm hungry, so let's wrap this up and get food.
Wendy's tonight?
I don't know. All right. So this has been another episode of CleoCast. My name is Matt.
And I am RC.
And we are available wherever you get podcasts. Follow us at Cleo History on Twitter. You can email us at cleohistorypodcast@gmail.com. If it's a hate email, please send it to I actually fucked your mom @gmail.com.
I forgot we set that one up.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Bye.
See ya.